Joining me on the line, man, he does a little bit of everything. Cooks, cast iron, he's on TV, he's got books, YouTube channels, and so on and so forth. Ladies and gentlemen, Kent Rollins is on the line. And it is Rollins, not Rollins, correct?
That is right, my friend. Thank you so much, Adam, for taking time out of your day to have us on, my friend.
Oh, I appreciate it because, Kent, I'm a big fan of the YouTube channel, and kind of a side funny story for you real quick. I got hooked on your channel back when the Big Mac video came across my feed.
Yeah.
And I started watching. I'm like, oh, this stuff is awesome. Like, you had the Crunch Wrap. I forget what it was, like a Taco Bell thing or something, but you did that and all these other things. And tonight, as I'm getting ready for it, I told my wife, I'm like, oh, I'm talking to this guy, and I showed her one of your videos. She goes, he's the guy from Chopped. And I'm like, oh, holy crap, he is. So she knew exactly who you were right out the gate.
Yeah, that was, the first one we did was Chopped Grill Masters. It was about 5 years ago out there in the desert, and it was a very stressful 3 days of cooking because what they considered groceries and what I considered groceries are two different things. I told Ted out there one evening, I said, there's a lot of things in that basket I ain't never heard of.
That's great. Hey, real quick, like, is doing the TV as much fun as people think, or is it kind of a hassle?
No, I really enjoyed Chopped Grill Masters. I did a lot of TV in the last 25 years. The first one that people probably recognize was probably the Throwdown with Bobby Flay, where we did a chicken fried steak.
Okay.
And beat him. But Chopped, I remember I'd worked for a casting director up there at the Food Network off and on for years, and she called me and she said, Ken, I need you to be on this show. It's called Chopped Grill Masters. And I said, I ain't never heard of it. And she said, well, you get Shan to pull you up an episode on the computer and you watch it and you call me back. Well, Shan pulled up an episode of Chopped, and I told her, I said, there is no way that I'm going to cook out of this basket over. I mean, I don't even know what this stuff is called, much less what it tastes like.
Yeah.
She said, you'll be all right. It's going to be totally different. It's going to be over live fire. So I called back and I told them, I said, hey, we'll do it. And they took 16 applications. Ended up with 16 people across the United States. And when I first went out there, I thought, hey, just get through one round and it'll be okay. I can remember after that first round was started, because they started about 5 o'clock that morning, and it was a very stressful little thing. And you realize 20 minutes goes by real quick. And when Ted says, "And time starts now," you don't have time to say, "Well, I might do this or I might do that."
Yeah.
You better have a plan, And after I sort of figured out, hey, this is just cooking, and this is doing something you love to do, so just cook. And I remember tasting things that I'd never heard of fennel at the time, and I'd taste it and I'd think, well, this tastes a little like this and a little like this. We'll make a fennel sort of coleslaw.
Yeah.
And it turned out to where it was, all right, let me see what you got next. We made it through the first round, and then we made it through the second round, and then we won the dessert round, so we were in the finals. The finals were totally different in a way. I met some really good people, but the one that really stands out was a chef from Hawaii, Sam Choi. And he told me, he said, you may just be a cowboy. He said, but you know a lot about food. And I said, Sam, I don't know what some of this stuff is. I just have to taste it and say, oh, I know what I can make with this.
Yeah.
And but it was a good time. I know a lot of people for years told me, they said, hey, we don't know who won first, but we know who won second.
That's one way to look at it. I've heard a few of the cooks from around Des Moines. They've either had Food Network in or gone on one of the shows, and I've heard kind of mixed things where it's either a great time or it was like I'll never do that again. So.
I did Chopped Redemption after that in New York City in the kitchen, and I wasn't going to do it. And then I told Shan, I said, hey, I'm just going to go ahead. I want people to know I don't care if it's inside or outside, on top of a barn or in a basement. I can cook. It was one of them deals to where I really knew that I should have won, but I'd cut my finger. Didn't even know it at the time, and because you're going 100 miles an hour. But it too was one of them deals when it's very draining. Time you start at 5:30, and if you make it to the finals, I think time I got back to the motel where Shan was that night, it was like 11:30. And it makes for some really long days. But I met a lot of good people up there, still good friends with Ted Allen and still good friends with Amanda.
That's awesome. Kent Rollins joining me on the line right now. Kent, let's give them a little bit of the history about you. We dove kind of into the chop stuff, but you're a guy that, you've got all this different stuff you've done, but you started out on the chuck wagon, correct?
Yes, sir. I was raised in southwest Oklahoma, in a little old town close to Hollis, and we were a farm and ranch community, and that's what we did. I was very fortunate to get to be raised around a bunch of old-timers that were cowboys who were legends in my mind and throughout the community and the cowboy world. And they taught me more than just being a cowboy. They taught me manners and respect and the love for God and country. And I was also very fortunate to have a mother that taught me how to cook. She said, "You're going to learn to cook, clean, and sew." Now, I've done a whole lot of sewing in my life, but most of it's either been on people or animals when I was sort of working as a vet off and on different places. But the chuck wagon has always been a big part of it. I'd worked on ranches and eat food off a chuck wagon. I ended up getting a chuck wagon after I did about 9 years guiding hunters in the Gila Wilderness. And it was something that the cowboys really respected me as being a cook because they knew I'd been on both sides of the fire.
Yeah.
From the Brandon fire to the Cook fire. This was long before I even knew anything about an internet or email address or anything. And word of mouth got out pretty quick. And but I figured out what I was doing was something that I was meant to be and something that I love to do. And the good Lord blessed me with having that opportunity. It wasn't so much about the money because at the time I was making $40 a day. And cowboys were making half what the cook makes, so that's $20 a day. But when you're somewhere for 5 weeks, making $40 a day, you thought you'd won the lottery when you got through.
I know exactly what you're talking about because as like a teenager when we'd go bale hay, and at the end of the day the guy would hand you a stack of money, you'd think, oh my gosh, this is it. So
rich now.
Kent Rollins joining me on the line right now. Okay, so you did the chuck wagon stuff. You've done Chopped and so on and so forth. YouTube, 1.5 million subscribers, 111 million views as of right now. How did YouTube come around for you? Like, at what point did you go, you know what, we could turn this into something?
Well, we made our first video probably nearly 10 years ago. I really need to back up, and I owe it all to my little sweet wife, Shannon, because I remember when I met her, she asked me, she said, "Do you have an email address?" I said, "Yes, ma'am, it's Route 1, Box 318. And she said, "No, that's an address." And she has brought me to modern age. She's not only a great cook and a great photographer, but she's always been a great influence in my life as to what I could do. And she believed in me, and she taught me what a computer was and what I could do with it. I began to write a lot of different stories for her and different things. And then she said, we may do a few videos every once in a while. And we never worked real hard at it till about 5 years ago.
Uh-huh.
And then we thought, this is a way that we can reach millions of people, and we can teach them not only is it about cooking, but really how simple life is.
Yeah.
YouTube is a great platform because we have a video comes out every Wednesday at 2:30 Central Time, and we have a very, very large fan base that is God-loving, love America, and just great people. They sort of helped us come up with the new title for our cookbook that come out, the second book, last March, which was called Faith, Family, and the Feast, because we do consider everyone on our YouTube channel as family, and that's what we want them to feel like when they watch.
I'll tell you this much. Whenever I watch one of your videos, I'm always either learning something or it's like I know people like you that if I showed up, that's exactly how it would be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yes, sir. And I told some folks one time, I was doing an interview with a lady out of L.A., and she said, "Well, you're not really this way in person, are you?" And I said, "Ma'am, I ain't changed none in my life that I know of." I said, "The only thing I ever changed probably was I changed my socks at least twice a week." And I said, "That's about it." Because there's a whole lot of people out there, Adam, in the world who might want to be somebody else. I just wanted to be what God intended for me to be, and that was a cowboy and a cook and someone who loved life. And if we can pass that on to people, hey, we're as I tell everybody, it's a great day above the grass every day here.
Truer words were never spoken. Kent Rollins joining me on the line right now. You can find out more about him at his website, kentrollins.com. We'll have all the links to, the website and your, social media and the YouTube channel at the bottom of the page for everybody. Kent, as you do look at, like this YouTube channel, I think this stuff is fascinating because, there is a lot of work that goes into doing this stuff and doing it right. What's your typical day like nowadays?
My days usually start about 5. I don't care what time zone I am or where I'm at. I'm going to get up the same time nearly every day, and I guess that's just sort of been in the way I was raised. My dad told me, he said, you need to get up and start the day before anybody messes it up. And which we had long days a lot, being a cowboy, and being a cook was even worse because if we're on a ranch, me and Shan will get up at anywhere from 2:30 to 3:30, to start breakfast. So days are long, but the rewards are great. Since when it's a film day, and we try to stay ahead. We get so busy sometimes we're just a week ahead on videos, but we try to stay 3 to 4 weeks ahead if we can. And it's a thing that very different than I think what everybody else does, because people say, how many people's on your crew? And I said, all right, let me count. There's me, there's the Beagle, there's Duke, and there's Shannon. And that's it. And we're in Mother Nature's conditions. It's not ever in something that is just a set place.
Yeah.
We don't have a crew that does lighting or will do sound, or, we fight the elements all the time, but it's real. And that's what we want people to see out of it, that this is not something that's pretend. This is what we do. This is the way I've made a living for the last 30 years, was always just cooking.
Yeah.
And Shannon is the greatest producer, editor of anybody I've ever worked with, and she is the love of my life. She finally got her some help year before last, I guess about a year from now, really, with a guy, and Andy is so good. Shannon will shoot the video and cut it, sort of the rough part of it off, and get it down to 25 minutes and then send it to Andy, and he'll get it down to, 13 to 15, and then it's good to go. But it's something that is totally different, I think, than what everybody else does, because there's not a set. It's out there. We fight the wind. We fight the light. There's been days that I've cooked it's been 117, and there's been days that I've cooked that it's been 3. We're going to keep putting it out there because we get so many cards and letters and comments from folks, and the ones that touch me, I guess, about as much as any is it's family oriented. There's so many young people that watch our videos, and I'm talking 3 and 4 and 5 years old, and I get cards and letters from them all the time. And we have so many followers that are servicemen and women that are overseas or Afghanistan. A video that comes out tomorrow, there is a lady that sent us a flag that her son, and this is pretty hard for me, Adam, her son passed away. He was in Afghanistan, and they had been big fans of our videos forever. And we always, because you watch, we pay tribute to that flag and all our servicemen and women and all the people that take care of us. And when he passed away, they threw a flag over the Capitol in D.C., and they sent us that flag.
Cowboy Kent Rollins, my guest right now. Kent, that's a pretty touching story.
Touches me, and every once in a while I think, I'm tired of cooking. I cook at least 6 days a week or work on a new recipe or something, and I'm thinking as long as there's people out there like that, I'm going to keep on cooking because that's what I'm supposed to do.
Kent, I got to ask you, does your wife, can she cook as well as you?
Well, when she first come along, she couldn't. She had me fooled. She was raised in a sure enough cow town and ranch part of the country in northern Nevada, Elko. And when we met, they're in Elko. They have the world's largest cowboy poet festival and workshops and stuff, and they hired me to come entertain and do a cooking workshop, and Shan was in charge of the workshop. And I can remember when I talked to her on the phone that she laughed a lot, and I thought, well, this lady thinks I'm pretty funny. But I found out later after we got together that she always just laughs when she's nervous.
Oh.
She said she couldn't understand a word I said, and being this good Okie translation. But she, when she come along, she's probably the toughest person I've ever met in my life, because she would go on a ranch with me after she'd been to cooking school, and she'd sort of picked up on what I was trying to show her, the different aspects of how you can cook with a Dutch oven and how to use it. And she just took to it naturally. And we were on a ranch in New Mexico for 5.5 weeks, feeding 17 cowboys 3 meals a day.
Oh, wow.
And it was in a drought condition, and I can remember the wind and the dirt was blowing really bad that day about noon. After we got them fed, she sort of turned her back to the wind, and I looked over there, and I could tell it was tears because it was washing the dirt off her face. And I said, "Darling, you ain't got to be in this if you don't want to. Go get in the pickup. Get out of this." And it was probably 87 degrees. The wind was about 60. The dirt was blowing.
Yeah.
And she just looked at me and smiled, and she said, "This is what we do, and we do it better than anybody else." And she's tougher than boot leather, the most beautiful thing I've ever known. And I never take that for granted.
No, you never do. I mean, my wife is keeping a 5-year-old at bay right now, so I completely understand. So, hey, Kent, I know you got to get going here, but I got 2 more just minor questions for you real quick, okay?
All right, that's fine, sir.
All right.
Fine.
Because you've cooked about everything under the sun at this point, if you had to cook your last meal, what would you cook?
Probably cook a 32-ounce bone-in ribeye with probably some of our baked beans.
Okay.
A buttermilk biscuit, and then for dessert, bread pudding with a whiskey cream sauce.
Oh, it's a way to go out. Final question, Kent. Yeah. You're one of the reasons I got myself for Christmas a cast iron Dutch oven. I'm scared of it so far. What's the one thing that I need to know about this thing before I start trying to cook with it?
First thing you got to know is cast iron is the best thing in the world to cook with. It's the healthiest thing that you can cook with. And if you take care of it, you can hand it down for 24 more generations. It never wears out. But it's always something that if you season it proper, take care of it proper, cast iron is an investment. You buy it, and it'll give you something back every time you cook out of it.
I'm looking forward to it. Kent, I appreciate it so much tonight. Kent Rollins is my guest. You can find out more about him, KentRollins.com. We'll have all the information at the bottom of the page. Kent, best of luck to you, and thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Adam, and God bless you, my friend, and y'all be safe.